Hi there, and welcome to Ian's Engage channel. I'm Ian. Here we are at the end of January already, so it's time to talk new arrivals again. So, let's get on with it. Firstly, there's a new loco, which was a late Christmas present to myself. It's the Bachmann Collectors Club Graham Farish Class 47 in experimental blue livery with small yellow ends. I've been looking for a Class 47 in BR Blue since returning to the hobby nearly 3 years ago. They're like hen's teeth to sauce, other than the Minitrix versions that don't play nice with Code 55 track. I've waited and waited for Bachmann to release a new tooled version in BR Blue, but it just hasn't happened. And it looks like this is the closest we're going to get for now. The experimental blue livery was applied to the loco in 1964 as part of BR's step towards a corporate livery change. The loco was used to haul a train of matching blue and grey coaches around the country to gauge public opinion of the new livery, before BR committed to the change. The model features a coreless motor with twin shafts and 2 flywheels that provide drive to each bogie. All axles are driven, and pickup is via 8 of the 12 wheels. The model is fitted with a Next 18 decoder socket. Directional lighting is available when running on DC or DCC, and cab lighting is available when operating on DCC. I've gone for the sound-fitted version, which uses an ESU Locksound 5 decoder. The loco was repainted in more familiar BR Blue livery in 1970, and received its tops numbering in 1974. Theoretically, this makes it a little early for Shelvington's time period, but Rule 1 applies and all that. Next up we have a Dapple A4. It's Sir Nigel Gresley, resplendent in its BR Express Blue livery with early crest, as it's currently preserved. I wouldn't normally purchase 2 locos in 1 month, but I originally had this model on pre-order at Hatton's before they closed down early last year, so I've been waiting a while for it to arrive. On first look, I have to say that it's a beautifully turned out model. It features both moulded and separately fitted parts, and includes accessory packs containing both additional details such as etched nameplates and spare parts. The loco is powered by Dapple's Super Creep motor, which I found to be excellent in some of their other models. The motor is in the tender, and drive is transferred to the loco wheels via a drive shaft mechanism that travels between the tender and the main body of the loco. I'm really not a fan of this method of drive, and would have much preferred the motor to have lived in the main body, as if the drive shaft pops out, it's not the easiest of things to re-engage. The model utilises a 6-pin decoder socket for DCC operation, which is also located in the tender. Pickups for the motor are present on 14 of the wheels, with power being transmitted back to the motor via some ugly-looking cables that bridge the gap between the loco and the tender. I'll be reviewing the loco once I've run it for a few months, but you can't deny that it looks fantastic straight out of the box. Just as an aside, the rail loco holds a special place in my heart, as it was one of my first experiences of riding behind a rail steam train. Here are a few photos I took with my trusty Kodak Instamatic camera when I was 11 or 12 years old. The loco only took us from Scarborough to York and back, but that short journey has lived long in the memory. In the previous new arrivals video, I introduced several new Graham Farish brake vans, 2 in rail freight red grey livery and 1 in BR bauxite livery. I also mentioned a Royal Mail liveried version that was available to Bachmann Collectors Club members. Well, yes, you've guessed it, one jumped into my basket as I was in the process of ordering the Class 47. I can only reiterate my observations of these new tooled Farish brake vans, and that they seem quite overpriced for the quality that they deliver. Yes, the moulded detail is good and the livery application is excellent. But flaking paintwork on the separately fitted parts, the bends in the running boards, and the lack of NEM coupling pockets are all problem areas when taking the cost of the model into consideration. The next new arrival is a pre-owned Bachmann Collectors Club item from 2009. It's another 7-plank private owner wagon to add to my collection. This one is branded Thomas Hunter Limited and has crisp white lettering on a brown painted background. The moulded details for the planks and rivets are well done, and I particularly like that the trapdoors inside the wagon have been modelled. The wagon runs on metal wheels but doesn't have removable couplers, which is not unexpected for a model of its age. Next up we have another pre-owned Graham Farish model, and this time it's a Mark I mini Buffy coach. The tooling for this model is from 2015, but it holds up pretty well in terms of detail. The blue-grey livery is an excellent match for my other stock, and as well as the moulded detail, there are quite a few separately fitted parts. There's also a separate detailing pack that includes pipes, hooks and door closures. There's also a sufficient amount of underside detail, and the couplers are articulated and return to centre via a spring. There are no NEM coupling pockets, but the coach is extremely free running on its metal wheels. Next up, there's yet another pre-owned Graham Farish item, and this time it's an OAA open wagon in rail freight red-grey livery. I'm sure that this is one of the original Graham Farish wagons before Farish were taken over by Bachmann. Unfortunately, the colours seem a little too dark when compared to my other rail freight red-grey liveried stock. Being quite old tooling, the model is by no means perfect, but still has some well-defined moulded detail that makes up the wagon body. Obviously, there are nowhere near as detailed as the Rapido Trains OAA wagons I took delivery of last year, which you can see in these shots. There is no underside detail at all, and couplers are fixed, but the model does have metal wheels. However, while it doesn't sport the finest of details, it runs incredibly well, doesn't look out of place in a rake, and made a very cheap addition to my fleet of rail freight wagons. The next new arrivals this month are these Graham Farish tarpaulin-covered wagon loads, which are part of the Bachmann Scenecraft range. There are 4 wagon loads per pack, with each one being modelled in a different shape. Each wagon load has also been individually hand-painted. I think that these are lovely little models, with pleats and creases in the tarpaulins of each wagon load looking very realistic. They're designed to fit perfectly inside Farish plank and mineral wagons, but you'll see in the running session I've got mine loaded into the Farish OAA and OBA wagons, and I'm sure that they can easily be made to fit wagons from other manufacturers. The final new arrival this month is a DCC Concepts regulated power supply. Those who regularly follow along may remember that I encountered a problem when trying to use my NCE power cab to switch the frog polarity using GaugeMaster Autofrog modules. I came to the conclusion that the power cab's original power supply was probably too underpowered to perform the task. The original power supply can supply 14 volts at 1.8 amps, while the DCC Concepts one can supply 18 volts at 2 amps. This is actually a higher rating than NCE recommends for the power cab, but DCC Concepts state on their website that their power supply is safe to use, so who am I to argue? I'm going to give it a go and will post an update soon about whether or not it solves the GaugeMaster Autofrog polarity switching problem. Right, here's a quick running session that contains all of the new locos and rolling stock I've just introduced. Oh, and the locos are being controlled by my NCE power cab, which is being powered by the DCC Concepts regulated power supply. Okay, So that's about it for this update. I'm extremely pleased to finally have a Class 47 in my fleet, despite it being a little too early for my era. I also think that Sir Nigel Gresley is a lovely model and was definitely worth the wait. However, I'll reserve proper judgment on both of my new locos until I've had a chance to test them more thoroughly. I think I can now definitely stop purchasing brake vans, and I should really stop it with the private owner wagon purchases too. It's obvious that the pursuit of rolling stock can be an addictive hobby in itself. The mini buffet coach was a great find, and at a great price with it being second hand. Similarly, I was very pleased to find an OAA wagon in rail freight red grey livery that had a different running number to my other stock. The fact that it's a slightly different colour from my other rail freight wagons can probably be mitigated once I start to add weathering to my wagons. I thought that the wagon loads were incredibly well modelled and looked fantastic, which is what I've come to expect from the Scenecraft range of products. Anyway, do you own any of the items I've shown in this video? If so, what have your experiences been with them? Good or bad, let me know what you think. Alternatively, if you've got any hints, tips, helpful tools or techniques to pass on to a fellow Engage modeller, or if you simply want to say hello, then please do so in the comment section. Anything and everything you've got to say will be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Hopefully there'll be more new arrivals to report on in the coming months. Bye.